Hey everybody, Austin back again, continuing this July 2014 Sega Master System Let's Play Marathon. As you can see here, we've got Thunderblade, which was a conversion of a Sega arcade game from the mid to late 80s. Pretty cool arcade game, actually. Very much like Outrun and Hang On and Afterburner and Space Harrier. It was one of those sort of super scalar arcade games where Sega tried to craft these three-dimensional environments utilizing two-dimensional sprites that could scale very nicely at that. And much like Outrun and all those games I just mentioned, Thunderblade also had this really massive arcade cabinet that pretty much simulated the feel of a helicopter. And it would raise up and tilt to the side and shake around and things like that. It was really cool. It was basically a sit-down cabinet. And unfortunately, that's kind of lost in the Master System conversion. But much like those other arcade conversions I had just mentioned, which all of those I just named also found their ways to the Master System, this is sort of a, I don't want to say half-assed effort, but it was really one of those arcade games that probably should not have been ported to the Master System. Or at least if it was, they should have just called it Thunderblade and just made a completely new game, catering to the strengths of the Master System. Unfortunately, this version doesn't really do that at all, except for these top-down sections, which unfortunately aren't really, there's not much to write home about in those sections, which do cater to the Master System's capabilities. So maybe they just shouldn't have made this game at all to begin with. Okay, end of episode. We're done. Okay, in all seriousness, guys, I'm going to go ahead and attempt to play through this arcade conversion of Thunderblade. And, I really actually don't want to be doing this Let's Play video because I really don't like this game. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not that I don't like Thunderblade, I just don't like this version of Thunderblade. I love the PC Engine version of Thunderblade. I love all those Sega arcade conversions on the PC Engine. They're much more faithful to the arcade versions. This, unfortunately, I just... maybe I would like it more if I could actually beat it. But this game always bends me over. It's always like, nope, you're not gonna proceed. We don't like you. Either that, or it's just I suck, which, that could very well be the problem. But yeah, needless to say, I am not gonna be able to make it very far in this version of Thunderblade in this Let's Play. So yeah, and I'll sort of talk about my grievances as we progress through this game. So let me go ahead and tap a button. And we're on stage 1, and it always starts you off with these top-down segments, and these are somewhat competent, and I say somewhat because, it's got big sprites, it moves well, it controls well, but it's just, your helicopter is so huge, it's so easy to just smash into something you don't really mean to, and some of these enemies just fly down the screen at a really fast pace. And it just makes it frustrating. This is obviously the strongest portion of the game, these top-down sections, but at the same time, they're not that great to begin with. And you've got to be extremely accurate with hitting some of these tanks. You got dudes like that come down and just swarm you with bullets, and you're too big to really even be able to dodge them if you wanted to. And yeah, I have a lot of problems with these top-down sections. They are actually pretty different from the arcade version's top-down sections. Yeah, that version had, the super scalar, three-dimensional visual style, but it also alternated between that and these sort of isometric top-down sections, which were actually a lot of fun in that game. They play vastly differently than the top-down sections do in this game. Likewise, the... behind the back 3D sections of this version actually play quite differently from the arcade Thunderblade as well. What you have here is just lots of repetitive patterns of enemies, tanks that just shoot seemingly homing bullets for some reason. I don't even know if that happened in the arcade version. It's just, these sections they're kind of cool, but they also go on for much longer than the top-down sections do. So what you have is the majority of the game takes place in these sections here, and you will see very quickly why I am just not a fan of these at all in this specific version of Thunderblade. Generally speaking, if you're trying to avoid the tank's shots, you can sort of just rotate around the screen, clockwise or counterclockwise or something like that, and generally that's enough to get around them. But even on this level, you're going to see it very soon, is that there are so many tanks on screen it almost seems like it's impossible to get through them. Now, I'm not going to say it's impossible, it just feels that way. I mean, I'm sure there's actual legitimate long plays of this game out there from people that actually grew up with the game that were forced to get good at it because it's all they had back then. You know, I had games I grew up with that were like that. That not many people liked them, or not many people beat them, but I beat them because it was pretty much all I had, you know? So... But things get pretty crazy on these behind the view sections really quickly, and there's other elements that are brought into the picture that I'm just not a fan of as well in this version, such as in the second level you're going to be going through caverns and caves, and not only do you have to destroy helicopters and tanks that are coming at you, but you also have to dodge pillars, rock pillars and things like that, and cavern walls, and just it's frustrating. And look at this. This is just like, oh, I got lucky there. I usually die at that part because I'm terrible at this game. So, now I have to admit, of the Master System games like Space Harrier, Afterburner, Galaxy Force, well, maybe not Galaxy Force, I haven't played that one on the Master System in a long time. This is probably the game with the most playable 3D sections out of all those arcade conversions. So I have to give it that. I can't really recommend the game though. I mean, I kind of like these top-down sections, but even they're not that great. Just look at this. There's not much going on in this one. This is a very basic section, not very difficult, which is actually kind of a relief in some regards. But, and that's it. It was like one shot, and it destroyed this big-ass, like, battle station. It's a weak battle station. So at the end of each stage, you pretty much get bonus points, and it racks up your score. And yeah, it's an arcade game originally, so obviously points are a major factor in this game. And playing for score is an incentive to try to learn the game and play it a little bit better. So one thing I did want to mention, actually, is that the arcade version, again, had more of this sort of three-dimensional, isometric style top-down portions. And when you shot in that game, you were actually always shooting towards the ground. You never shot all the way across the screen in that game. And it made for a really interesting top-down, sort of shoot-'em-up style of gameplay. And this, unfortunately, sort of eschews that, and it's just like, well, let's just go straight top-down, you know? Maybe the Master System couldn't handle much more. We're not even gonna try. Or maybe they did, and they just felt that this worked better. And I think these are actually fine, but I think they could have just been fleshed out, sorry. And I think that they probably should have just made a game featuring top-down sections in its entirety. So instead of having these three-dimensional and behind-the-back sections that really just don't do the arcade version any justice at all, just have a full, fleshed-out, nice top-down shooter, because the Master System didn't have many of those. The Master System had very few top-down shoot-'em-ups. Oh, crap. Oh, that was close. It had very few top-down shooters, and the ones it had, you know, Power Strike and Power Strike 2, or basically the Alesta series aside, weren't very good. It didn't have many good shoot-'em-ups on the system. Now, it did have the side-scrolling R-Type, which was awesome on the Master System, but it didn't have many great side-scrolling shoot-'em-ups either. So what I think that Sega probably should have done is, aside from concocting this botched 3D, pseudo-3D game and having me get frustrated at it 25, 30 years later, oh, come on, man, really? They should have just made a really, really solid top-down shooter. And I think that would have definitely benefited the Master System library greatly, because again, it was a genre that was prevalent on systems like the NES, and then later, obviously, the Genesis and Super Nintendo, but the Master System, unfortunately, did not have too many of them. And the ones it did were just kind of, yeah, they were decent. You know, again, barring the Alesta series and Power Strike, essentially, which were very good games. It didn't have many other very good shoot-'em-ups. So essentially, you have... Oh, crap. Well, I was going to die anyway. I was going to slam into that wall. And this game definitely requires memorization. If you can't memorize the levels, you're going to make mistakes like that, where even if I got through those helicopters, I wouldn't have been able to get to the other side of the screen fast enough. I would have smashed into that wall, which I just... yeah, that was terrible. So, what time are we at? We're at 10 minutes. Let's go ahead and give it one more try. I'm not going to wuss out that easily. I'll give it one more go. And let's see if I can do a little bit better this time. I was playing a little sloppy because I'm trying to explain the game and talk about it and give my opinions on it like I usually do, but it's a game where there's little room for error, and it's really tough to talk and play a game like that. So, let's see if I can do a little bit better this time. The enemy patterns are a little repetitive on these top-down sections. They are definitely predictable. I don't want to say predictable entirely, but you do have to memorize them. They do always come out at the same angles from the same sides of the screens, depending on the part of the stage you're at. It's a little hard to tell what part of the stage you are at, though, because the background is, well, a little repetitive. It's the same street and cars and buildings, and there's not really anything there differentiating the background to sort of send a signal to your head saying, hey, you're 3/4 the way through the stage. There's not really any of that going on. The tank patterns can sort of, you know, play that role, but I don't know. So here we go. 3D section again. Now you can obviously destroy the tanks either by using your secondary attack, which is a missile that travels all the way across the ground, or you can just get to the bottom and just use your normal shots. Should probably try to go for these helicopters, rack up my score a little bit. You might get points. Well, yeah, obviously you get points. You might get extra lives from points, is what I meant to say. So, I should be trying to attack more enemies and see if I can get some extra lives up. Because as you can tell, I'm obviously going to need those. Because this game is a bitch. It is really tough. The other versions of Thunderblade available, like the PC Engine version and the Sega Mega Drive or Sega Genesis versions, much easier games. They're much more doable, far more doable than this one, in my opinion. Again, the PC Engine version, I've actually completed several times. It's not that difficult. I think, honestly, I think the difficulty in that game is just right. If you don't know what you're doing in that game, you will get destroyed, but the second, you know, you do a little memorization, you get a little practice in, it's definitely doable. I think anyone should be able to beat the PC Engine Thunderblade. So, one thing is these enemies come out so quickly, is I guess you would, I don't know, have to angle your helicopter at the... Oh, come on, man. See, look at all these bullets. It's just like, this is the first level. First level. Stage 1. See, it even says it right there. All those bullets. It just... the design choice just makes absolutely no sense to me. It's like whoever was making this game was just like, oh shit, we gotta meet deadlines. It's just... fill the stages with tanks, quick! There's not enough tanks, put more tanks in. And it just, you know, the level design turned out to be a clusterfuck, basically. And... sorry, I don't normally... oh, Jesus Christ, man. I don't normally curse when I do these Let's Plays, but... I don't want to be playing this game, but I told myself I would for this marathon. And I'm actually doing a lot worse in this, this session than I was the first session. And that's... pretty pathetic, because we're only on the first level. We're only on the first level. Oh, man. You know, and... design choices like this have always bugged the hell out of me. Because you go from 2 semi-difficult levels to one that is just a cakewalk. It's like, it just doesn't make any sense. There's no consistency to that. And that's always bugged me. So I'm just like, why was that so easy? But the other 2 levels were so tough. Like, I just don't get it. Oh, what? I didn't even see the bullets because it was meshing in with the background, which is another terrible design choice. Yeah, I know, guys. It's my fault. I should have saw the bullets, but it was tough to see. I didn't think there were any bullets there. So, when you're making games, you don't want to have any inconsistencies like that. Like, you always want it to be completely the player's fault when they die. You don't want to have them just slam into a random bullet that doesn't look like it's there because it's the exact same color as the background. That's poor design. And that's just going to piss the player off when they play. You know, okay, I'm no game designer, but I'm sure if you talk to a game designer, they'll tell you the exact same thing. I mean, it's it's pretty easy to understand. It's the exact reason why, one of the reasons why, as far as I'm aware, is that the Neo Geo and Dreamcast shoot 'em up Last Hope. One of the biggest complaints is that game is you could barely see the bullets half the time. And so NG Dev Team ended up re-releasing the game with modified levels and so forth, and pink bullets! Because none of the backgrounds were pink. And so the pink bullets really contrasted well with the backgrounds. So if you died in the pink bullets version of the game, it was pretty much your fault. You either didn't know the game well enough, or you weren't paying attention because you slammed into this bright-ass pink bullet that definitely does not blend in with the background. So, you know, that's kind of my point. And now this game doesn't have that issue with these sections, which is good, but oh, come on, dude, really? Like, man, fuck this game. Alright guys, I'm gonna end this Let's Play now because I don't like this game, as you could probably tell. This game sucks, and there's a reason it's $2 wherever you go to buy Master System games, and there's a reason why this is still $2 and other great games like Considine and Fantasy Zone 2. And look, even the CPU can't play the damn game. That's how bad it is. Don't play this game. And anyway, guys, I'm going to wrap this up. I'll see you in the next Master System Let's Play Marathon video in a couple of days in a much more bright and cheery mood, because this game just makes me want to go shoot myself right now. I'm not going to go do that, so don't send me crazy messages. I'm just saying, God damn you, get out of here. Yeah, that's right, get out of that Master System. Alright guys, I'll see you in the next episode. Take care.